it seems like bankruptcy there just doesn't seem like to be a way to get that off. That's what I'm finding. And until that is, for me, mine stayed on. It was like the month of the 10. I mean, it didn't fall off until that 10th year to the exact month. Yeah. Are you finding the same thing, or
bankruptcy is required to stay on your credit for 10 years. But I've seen just an influx of these credit repair people. I don't know how removing it from someone's credit, which is not legal at all.
Okay.
But a lot of them are promising, hey, we'll remove the bankruptcy, but that's not legal. I've run into a lot of things with those credit repair people because they'll. I even have clients that are coming in there or giving them false promises and telling them, hey, if I get it off your credit, I promise I'll get it off your credit. But they're not telling you that your credit is not king. What if someone has a contract and they have a contract in hand with you and you've breached that contract? You're telling me that creditor can file a civil suit against you because that's not on your credit. That's just simply false. I see it all the time.
One of the things that I'm asked, and I wanted to ask you, since you are absolutely in the field. What's up, YouTube and the podcasting universe? This is Quincy Benton. I'm your host from Setbacks to Success. And guess what? As you know, I'm a felon. Yep, I am. I am a felon. I'm not only a felon, I'm a college graduate, a father, husband, entrepreneur, son, and man of faith. And actually, I got this new word from the person that I will be interviewing for the next podcast, Karima Hanifa. She recently spent 26 years in prison and has been released about 5 years ago. And Karima has an excellent term that she enlightened me on titled returning citizen. So I think I'll start using that more as this podcast develops as well. But yeah, I'm back and I'm here today with a very special guest. And I mean, we're not going to play any games. We're going to get right into this because there's a lot that we need to unpack on this podcast. I'm here with attorney Dekovan Bowler, Bowler and Associates. He is a bankruptcy attorney. And as you know, the title of this podcast is a finance check, what every felon, divorcee, or widow needs to know about bankruptcy. But this is not just, this doesn't apply to those individuals. This is going to really apply to anybody who might be finding themselves getting in a financial pinch and trying to figure out how what are the things that you need to do to get out of that, and how to, and what are your options when your finances are tight. So first of all, thank you, Dekovan, for joining us.
I'm glad to be here.
Okay. And also, as I share with him off camera, I just said that, one, I wanted to give him a big shout out as well to all of our African-American attorneys out there. I think it's just a phenomenal accomplishment for you guys that have, run that complete race. I know it was an arduous journey. And so, again, salute and big shout out to you guys for making that happen.
I appreciate it and hope to encourage others along the way.
Okay, sounds good. Absolutely. So I want to first start off by just kind of asking you just to share with our audience a little bit about your background, where you're from, and, how did you got to the place where you are right now?
Well, I was born and raised in Oklahoma City, pretty much graduated high school, Midwest City High School, undergraduate, graduated from the University of Central Oklahoma, finance degree. That's what I got my bachelor's degree in. I went to law school, Oklahoma City University, graduated 2016. But what inspired me to go, and I guess it's really just not only to law school, but to college in general, is that pretty much my majority of my family, I have a family of attorneys. My dad is an attorney. I have cousins that's an attorney. I got uncles. And so that really inspired me, as far as the journey, to see that the things that they've done for others. And so that inspired me to go ahead and, follow in their footsteps to, see if I can continue the family legacy.
Okay. Now, your family, were they specifically in the areas of bankruptcy law, or was it other practice areas?
Well, as far as my father, he started out in the early 90s. He worked, for the insurance commission. So he started with that. And really almost after that, kind of really just fell into bankruptcy in the mid 90s. And since then, he's, that's the sole area that he's been practicing. So that's pretty much all I've seen. This is pretty much the only job that I've had. My dad started his own practice in 2003. Okay. And I've been working inside the office since then. So it just pretty much how bankruptcy fell in his lap, it fell into mine too. So it was only right. And plus, with the finance background, it just really numbers really interest me, it could grab my interest. So I love it.
Okay. Absolutely. Excellent. So with that, again, I share, a lot of this process and what I hope to accomplish from this podcast in figuring out, kind of how to recover from life setbacks, two of which that, we won't cover one of them today, but two of which that have directly impacted me was one, divorce, and the other was a bankruptcy. And so, I filed my first bankruptcy or my only bankruptcy in 2008. And this was around the time in Atlanta where there was leading up to 2008, there was just this, economic boom, a lot of growth taking place in the Atlanta area. You had a lot of people who were getting into real estate investing. I was one of those people. In real estate investing, along with the publishing that I was doing, led me to actually was able to purchase 3 franchises in the Atlanta area. Right. And these were a brand called Planet Smoothie franchises. But right around 2007, we had the housing crisis where there was just a bubble. You couldn't get financing, as you talk about in terms of mortgage financing. People couldn't qualify for loans. And in addition to that, there was a gas crisis that a lot of people don't, unless you were from that area and were kind of, there during that time, their gases rose up to $4 or $5 a gallon. There was one week that there was no gas even available in Atlanta. So you had cars packed up for blocks, lined up at gas stations. And I mention all of that because, that had a great impact on my business, in terms of real estate, in terms of the smoothie businesses. And I found myself in a position where, I just couldn't come out of that unscathed. And there was no bailout. There was no bailout like what we've had. And we'll talk about that a little later. The government did related to the pandemic in 2020. So I had to file bankruptcy, and it was a business bankruptcy as well as a personal bankruptcy totaling a little over $500,000 that got me out of. But that got me out of the pinch, but it really, it began a whole nother journey in terms of financial recovery, because that keeps the creditors from calling. But there's just whole nother process of trying to come back. My question to you is that when a person or someone that comes into your law firm as a potential client, what are some of the things that you talk about with them? And then we're going to go in depth in terms of, the types of bankruptcies, because you do have personal business. And give me kind of an idea of what the process is for you when someone comes into your office saying that they're possibly considered filing bankruptcy.
Well, the process is initial consultation, sit down, just to discuss it, to figure out what is giving someone concern regarding whatever brings them into my office. And thereafter, once we, pinpoint the issue, if bankruptcy will properly address their situation, then I go into it as far as, telling them their rights in regards to what chapter of bankruptcy will properly address the situation. Because number one is that if bankruptcy is not right, which sometimes is not, I will properly advise them of that. But if I wholeheartedly believe that bankruptcy will properly address their situation and there's no way out, therefore I go to into the chapters of bankruptcy, because, while the person is talking, my mind is going, I'm going through the different, scenarios, different chapters of bankruptcy, to help accurately pinpoint this issue and address it.
Got you. So tell me, what would be like a typical scenario for people? Is it that they're coming in because they have credit card debt? Is it, medical, expenses? Is it, they're 6-7 months, a year behind on their mortgage? What are some of the typical scenarios that you find that you see from clients when they come in who are considering bankruptcy?
Well, it's a wide array of situations, but just to highlight a few, this is not an exhaustive list. But of course, the things are foreclosures, repossession, taxes, failed business, divorce. Those are just to mark a few. But yeah, it's countless situations. But those are and of course, medical bills. I don't know if I said that, but yeah, that's a pretty common one too.
That's a pretty common one.
Yeah.
Okay, got you. I know. I've encountered that with people in different situations, and those medical bills can get outrageous to the point where
very quick.
Yeah. And so that's something that I brought up. But you talk about kind of trying to help someone determine whether or not they should file bankruptcy. And I know one of the things that I was familiar with that I don't hear as much as about, and I wanted to ask you about it. There was an organization called Consumer Credit Counseling Service and CCCS. And basically what I found from them, or what they used to do, was they would actually, instead of you filing a bankruptcy, they would intercede on your behalf with your people that you owe, the companies that you owe money to. And then they would work out these payment arrangements according to how much money that you had. And then you just would pay CCCS, and then they would distribute funds equally among the people that you owed until you were able to pay those things out. Is that one of the options? Is that still an option that exists? And is that something that you kind of consider, maybe as a alternative to filing bankruptcy?
Well, I'll say this, it's always bankruptcy is the last resort.
Okay.
You exhaust all your, avenues, remedies to address the situation. But in regards to that, and I have one particular bankruptcy trustee that can attest to this, in regard to debt consolidation companies, I haven't heard one success story yet.
Okay.
Because usually I have numerous clients that attempted to try it, and next thing you know, one of their creditors is not cooperating with that plan that consumer or debt consolidation place wants to do. Next thing you know, they have a civil suit been filed against them to garnish their wages.
Gotcha.
Because they don't have to cooperate with that. With the thing with bankruptcy, we're federal law, so it's almost giving them no choice.
Okay.
But we all got to abide. The creditors have to abide by the laws, and we have to abide by them too. So, that's to get the law involved, to get, to hopefully, resolve this thing in a peaceful way.
Okay. That's interesting. I didn't even consider that and it sounds like the creditors are not obligated to, in any way, to participate in a debt consolidation process.
Exactly.
Okay. And so with that, what would I'm just digging before we actually go into the types of bankruptcy that a person can file, what would you advise, or is there any other alternative solution out there to filing bankruptcy in a financial pinch?
That's a question that really just depends on where someone's credit stands at that particular time. Because if it's other, you're able to do a consolidation loan, if that's all possible, of course definitely you'll try that before you seek filing for bankruptcy. But a lot of people, once they get reached to come into my office to talk about bankruptcy, that's not an option.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, good deal. So let's dive straight into the types of bankruptcy that are available. What are the types, and then what types of things can a client expect if they have to file any of the types?
Well, I'll go with the common types of bankruptcy. There are quite a bit, and some are not filed as many. We have farmers, chapter for farmers, but the common ones for individuals is Chapter 7 and Chapter 13. When we're talking about Chapter 11, as far as business-wise, but if you have an individual and you have substantial amount of assets, you can also file a Chapter 11 too, as far as reorganization. But a business can file Chapter 7 liquidation, individual can file Chapter 7 as well. But Chapter 13 is limited to individuals, and it's also limited. It has debt limitations as far as asset limitations. So if someone exceeds that asset and debt limitation for Chapter 13, an individual person, that would put them over into a Chapter 11 to reorganize.
Okay. So now, and again, I need to get a little bit of clarification on the difference between 7 and 13. I thought in this, maybe and you can help me understand this. It seems like is it one a complete removal of debt, and then, or you're asking them to wipe it completely away, or both of them are that way in terms of 7 and 13?
The way, maybe other attorneys doesn't refer to it, but what I tell my clients, because I receive that question a lot.
Okay.
What I tell everyone is the difference between Chapter 7 and Chapter 13 for individuals is that Chapter 13 is pretty much a Chapter 7 on steroids. It's able to do everything a Chapter 7 can do plus more. So it's certain things, and when I say that, it's certain things that it may not be discharged in a Chapter 7 bankruptcy, but we can go over to Chapter 13 and address those situations. So at the conclusion of that case, you got your fresh start.
So I hope you're enjoying the content Attorney Bowler is sharing with you in today's episode. As I'm pretty sure you can tell from watching and listening, Attorney Bowler and his staff at Bowler Law Firm can and will help you overcome your legal obstacles. At Bowler Law Firm, Attorney Bowler is highly experienced in filing Chapters 7, 11, 12, and 13 bankruptcies. Their mission is to find the quickest, most effective, and most affordable solution to all of your legal and financial troubles, so you can focus on your future and get your life back on track. Please call them at 405-733-3000. That's 405-733-3000 to schedule a free initial consultation. Or you can book your free consultation on their website at www.bowlerlawfirm.com so they can get started on your case right away. You can also find them on Facebook at Bowler Law Firm. Matter of fact, Dekovan and his staff are so committed to helping you, or from Setbacks to Success listeners and viewers, get out of the financial mess that you're in, that he asked me to tell you to tell him at your free initial consultation that Quincy Benton from the Setbacks to Success podcast sent you, and he'll be sure to give you a special rate. Now, back to our episode. And so are there price differences in those cases? And if so, what would be the price differences?
Well, the price difference, it just depends on the attorney, of course. The price range can range from anywhere, for an individual, let me say, for Chapter 7, it can range anywhere from $1,500 to $2,000. With Chapter 13, the total cost is about $3,500. Some attorneys just require a down payment to be made, with the remaining balance of the attorney fees to be paid over the life of the case, which is a 3 to 5 year period.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that. That's valuable information right there, and that really does help. I'm sure our listeners figure out, kind of, where they can expect to be, when making those decisions. Give me a little more, kind of dig more into the Chapter 11. You said it is a reorganization. So it sounds like when you say reorganization, you're not actually canceling out that debt. You are saying to your creditors, I'm just having some problems right now, financial problems, but I want to pay you guys.
Exactly.
And I just need more time, or need some better terms in order for me to pay you. Is that
exactly?
Okay.
Exactly. Okay. Because it's when someone, especially like a business, they have a reduction in income, when all creditors are demanding payment at the same time, and simply the business saying, are saying, hey, I don't have enough to meet everyone's needs right now. So. And therefore, that's when someone seeks the filing of the Chapter 11 bankruptcy case, to get court intervention to help organize this.
Okay. And that's valuable as well. And in terms of a Chapter 11, can you price wise, could you give us a range as similar to the 7 and 13 for a Chapter 11 filing?
Well, that it's a little more difficult as far as Chapter 11, but it just really depends on the complexity of the case. Chapter 11 is really expensive.
Okay.
And what I, say it could be a down payment of approximately $10,000,
Okay.
and then thereafter, once the $10,000 is utilized, it could still, if your legal services need to persist, it could be more than that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and when you say complexity, I guess that's the amount of creditors involved.
And assets.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
because, just imagine, you just have a company, and I'm not, I don't see them filing bankruptcy anytime soon. You have a company, a Walmart, that wants to file a Chapter 11 bankruptcy, which is not going to be an easy task.
Okay, got you.
Yeah.
Because of the sheer size of it makes a difference as well. And I understand where you're going with that. So Thank you for that as well. Let me just kind of get some personal stuff from you, because I'm always interested, particularly someone like yourself who's been in the business that, as long as you have and has as much experience, not only your personal experience, but your family experience in this area. Kind of give me maybe one of the, without sharing any actual names or details of any company, what would be one of the, more...
Under my watch, I've been practicing almost 5 years now. And I could say, well, I'll just give you a recent example. I have of course, I'm obligated not to say, give you any details to identify him. Cool. But he's a land developer, developing a neighborhood, multi-million-dollar, contracts, with banks and things like that. I still currently have that case pending right now. And we're getting into a little bit of litigation in regards to that, because, with bankruptcy, some creditors are just not happy and don't want, to abide by bankruptcy law. So they find different tactics to sidestep bankruptcy law. And some of them just file a lawsuit to see what they can get away with. And that's what I feel in regards to this client, because this particular creditor is not happy about the effect of a bankruptcy discharge, want to go away easy because due to the substantial amount of the debt.
Okay. So we're talking about debts in the hundreds of thousands, millions, potentially. Yeah. That you're working on. So understood. I would understand if I were, representative of a company who had that much credit extended out to someone, why they would want to fight it. And, I would understand for someone who found themselves in a jam, why they would want to dispose of that as well or try to get rid of that. So,
and you're absolutely right. You got to look at it from both ways, because not only, I have an obligation to represent my client, but also I see it from the other side as well. But, still at the same time, hey, we have to follow the law. You can't just simply just take it, just take it personally and saying, hey, I just don't like this person and I don't like bankruptcy law. Right. That can lead to, as far as sanctions and things like that, to get someone to abide.
Gotcha. Yeah. Now, and I appreciate you sharing that. I think that's valuable as well. Now, I know that you're in the state of Oklahoma, but are you able, and I know our listeners are, all throughout the country and maybe in some cases worldwide. Are you limited if someone wanted to reach you and contact you and they had a situation where they were considering declaring bankruptcy for their personal and or their business? Are you able to represent clients who are outside of the state of Oklahoma?
No, I have to be licensed in that particular jurisdiction. I see somewhere in the near future, though, I will be extending my license to the state of Texas. I have resources in Texas, and I receive several clients with questions from Texas. So I refer them to my classmates that that practice bankruptcy law in Texas to, handle the situation. But
right.
As far as here in the near future, I do see myself being licensed in Texas and practicing there as well.
All right, Texas, look out now. You got there's one coming here, so and I'm sure there's a lot of room for a lot of people down there in the big state of Texas.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So okay, that's awesome. And let me see here. There was one other question that I wanted to ask you. Now there are certain types of debts, and I know that we'll be digging into this a little bit with a person, one of your colleagues, contemporaries, Attorney Banks, Lorenzo Banks. And I know that because I actually dealt with this on a certain level as well, related to child support and back child support. I know that there's certain debts, and I think student loans might be the other one, that when filing bankruptcy, those cannot or are not able to be included in a bankruptcy.
Right.
I want to get your from your perspective. What are some of those debts, and is that correct that back child support, and student loans are not eligible for to be included in a bankruptcy?
Yeah, that's correct. Bankruptcy law explicitly in black letter law states that domestic support obligations are not dischargeable in bankruptcy. And also lists as far as federal backed student loans. There are other things that could potentially not be discharged, such as traffic citations.
Okay.
And you can even, if a creditor brings a lawsuit against you inside of bankruptcy court, which there are certain fraud, or someone is part of a DUI. Someone has a DUI and they're in an accident resulting in severe injuries. Okay. Those are not dischargeable in bankruptcy. So, sometimes I have clients that come in that, I wouldn't say it was often, but I have ran into the occasion where someone was a part of DUI, which resulted in injuries. And therefore, the victim of that was suing the potential client. And I had to advise them that, that suit could persist and survive bankruptcy. Okay. So just going back to, and I forgot the term that you used to describe domestic. You called it domestic support obligations. Support obligations. So right. Would that also include like alimony? Right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Alimony. Yeah. So it's just a broad wording that the bankruptcy court uses to encumber those things. Child support, alimony. And it could also be attorney fees. So if someone, the custodial parent is pursuing the non-custodial parent for child support, and if the court awards the non-custodial parent to pay the custodial parent's attorney fees, those can be not dischargeable in bankruptcy as well. Okay. So, boy, you're dropping gems here today, and I hope our listeners are grabbing these gems that you're putting out there, because this is good information that you'll need to know if you find yourself in a situation, and you'll be prepared during your consultation. Hopefully, if you're in the state of Oklahoma, you'll choose to go directly with Attorney Bowler and his company law firm Bowler and Associates to file your bankruptcy. But if you're outside of the state of Oklahoma, then you'll have some better information about the ins and outs of how this process works. So thank you for sharing that with us today. Last one, and we talked about this off camera, and it was related to kind of the economy. I know that I was doing some research preparing for our interview, and I noticed from United States statistics in terms of bankruptcy filings. Last year, during 2020, bankruptcy filings were down compared to previous years, 2017, 18, 19. They were all up in like this 700,000 range. 700,000 to 800,000 filings per year range prior to 2020. In 2020, it dropped down to 544,000. Almost 200,000 less bankruptcies filed in 2020 than in those previous years. Now, we had this conversation, but I want you to kind of share with our audience, because, this was kind of the discussion about, for me, going back to 2007, there was no economic stimulus. There was no bailout, by the government. There was no support. If you got hit, you just got hit. You had to take that hit, in the jaw, on the chin,
and on the solar plexus, everywhere else, you were done. But last year, where it appears that everything should have fallen apart for a lot of people, it didn't. Can you speak to that in terms of, the economic stimulus and how that may have prevented the number of bankruptcies from not just staying steady around close to $800,000 per year range, but actually being decreased? And talk about how for 2021 now, moving forward, maybe that same level of support is not going to be there, and how that might affect things moving forward. I know that's a pretty detailed question.
Yeah, and I'll try to cover all of it. If I miss anything, let me know. But as far as beginning of the pandemic, March of last year, yes, we did. I believe all practicing bankruptcy attorneys felt the hit of the pandemic. Of course, there were still, some filings, but not nearly as much. But my indication is due to the federal government even enacting such things as the CARES Act to protect, people even from evictions and foreclosures. I believe, and also I believe what led to the decline is also unemployment. Everyone's views, what they're focusing on at that time is not really their creditors, it's putting food on their table.
Right.
And also, elephant in the room is the stimulus, and I think that's contributing to it as well. And we believe that once the government starts taking their hands off the situation, that we believe that bankruptcy cases are going to spike, and which we're already feeling right now. It's headed in the inclining direction and producing higher numbers than last year, because I believe maybe this month alone we've filed maybe 30-something bankruptcy cases.
Oh, really? Okay,
Yeah.
Gotcha. So you start to see uptick
Yeah.
a little bit. Okay, in cases. Okay.
Right.
Yeah, so we might be heading into something else, more like what was typical and usual for 2021, 2022, depending just on how things go. It sounds like this is maybe the recipe for maybe more people having to consider bankruptcy as an option that they didn't have to last year.
Yeah, the thing that's really, I got my eye on right now as far as mortgage companies and foreclosures. I want to see how this thing hashes out regarding mortgage companies and, and people in regards to their homes. Because a lot of people during the pandemic taking forbearances, that the federal government obligated mortgage companies to help, consumers in regards to that. And I've seen now, like I said, the beginning of the pandemic started about March of 2020, and I still see people right now extending the forbearance term. So it just looks like a recipe for disaster, but I'm just looking to see how this thing is going to work out in regards to homes. I hope it works out, because of course I don't want anyone to lose their home.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna say this, man. I appreciate you. I appreciate you for sharing this. Pulling back the curtain when it comes to this area of our lives that people, again, like you said, it's not the type of thing that you want to have, that you want people to have to consider, but it is a fact of life that sometimes we're just, our backs are pushed in the corner so deep. This is the only way out. So,
Exactly.
So again, I very much appreciate you being on our podcast today. I want to close things out with one. I want you to, if you could, share with us if anyone is in the position to have to file a bankruptcy here in the state of Oklahoma. How would they go about reaching you?
They can reach me by phone, 405-733-3000, or they can reach me by email at bankruptcy@bowlerandassociates.com, and that's BOWLERANDASSOCIATES. You can also reach it on Facebook at Bowler Law. But yeah, that's the three ways, or just stop by. We're in Midwest City, 8333 Southeast 15th Street, Southeast 15th and Midwest Boulevard. Stop by. We also, someone walks in, I'll help them too.
All right, that's what's up. And last but not least, I always ask our guests to give us if you could, 3 to 5 keys as far as that you would recommend for, our listeners that would either help them avoid bankruptcy, keys for surviving through a bankruptcy, and then, or just, what it takes to recover from a bankruptcy. What would be maybe 3 to 5 things that you would recommend?
Well, one is, and this is not a solution because everyone's situation is different. I believe in some situations that bankruptcy is really just not preventable. It's just a fact of unfortunate circumstances. But, for the vast, I guess I can say probably the vast majority, I would say number one at the top of the list is financial education. Okay. I think, in the bankruptcy court back in 2005 changed the laws to implement as far as educating the consumer in regards to managing credit cards and as far as limiting your debt and being able to budget. This is implemented by the bankruptcy court in order to prevent frequent filers, which, I don't know the numbers in regards to that if it's helped, but, that's the court's way to help, fix this situation as far as going forward. I think second is most issue that I see is a person as filing bankruptcy is reevaluating the things that you value. I have some people that are just outright just want to keep up with the Joneses, and that's what got them in that situation. And I think you just need to get into the true values of life and realize that's not life, and that you need to value things as far as family, health, and things like that, and learn how to budget. And that's the things. I think it's a ton of resources available now, even a ton of videos on YouTube now that can really just educate someone willing to learn, to help prevent being in that situation again. And I think third is someone just learning from past mistakes. Yes. They say, that's the thing that I commonly see too with frequent filers is that, once they're done with the bankruptcy filing, they'll go back and jump in the same hole. So that's the thing, is just to learn from your mistakes. 4 is once the bankruptcy is concluded, it's just to monitor your credit, for anything that's inaccurate, dispute those things, because that could be driving down your credit score. And, once you dispute any inaccuracies, that could boost your credit scores to help you get that fresh start. Gotcha.
Oh man, you dropping them today. You are dropping them today. I hope people are taking notes and are listening to this. And I know from my personal experiences, what you said is absolutely true. And that's really the foundation of this podcast, is learning from your mistakes. Really understand what is the lesson that I need to take out of this situation, and how do I make the adjustments needed to make sure that this doesn't happen again.
Exactly.
And so that is that absolutely drops, that's a mic drop there. I hope that folks get it. So again, very much grateful to you for sharing your time with us today. And again, from, our listeners, I hope you gain value from today's episode, from Setbacks to Success, finance check, what every felon, divorcee, or widow needs to know about bankruptcy, and a conversation with attorney Dekovan Bowler of Bowler and Associates. He gave you all of his information that you would need to have to contact him here in the state of Oklahoma if you need to file a bankruptcy. And again, my goal is, again, as always, to make sure you don't have to feel like that you have to hide or be embarrassed by these things. I've been through it all. I've been through a lot. I've been through divorce, I've been through bankruptcy, been through incarceration, and I'm still here, man. I'm still here. And I want you guys to know, they're listening, that you can go through these things, recover, and be all right on the other side. So again, thank you once again. Also, thank you to our producer here at Podcast Studios, at Blacken Studios. Again, big shout out to Buck and the team here at Blacken Studios. You can always know that you can reach them at blackenstudios.com. Well, that's it for us today. Was there anything that you have else to close us out with, or any last parting words that you'd like to put out there?
And I will sit here and say too, just to clear up one thing, a common misconception in regards to bankruptcy cases or filing for bankruptcy is that someone may think that it's the end. And hey, the purpose of bankruptcy is to give the honest debtor a fresh start.
Gotcha.
That's it.
It's just a turning the page to a new chapter.
Exactly.
All right. Again, thank you very much. Very much appreciated. And again, for everybody listening, don't let your setbacks keep you from achieving your success. Until next time.